Alright guys, so really quickly in this video I wanted to go over a really core fundamental concept that is essential for learning how to deadlift properly, and that's going to be the hip hinge. And this is something that I see is the most common thing with my clients and people that I work with as to why their deadlift might not be very efficient. It doesn't feel good, doesn't look the way it's supposed to, and that's basically understanding what a hip hinge is, what it aims to achieve, and how to actually perform one. So a hip hinge is essentially when you are bending at your hip, pushing your hips back. The deadlift is a hip hinge movement primarily. There should be very minimal forward knee travel, although there will be the quads engaged off of the floor, a slight degree of knee flexion. It's primarily a hip extension slash hip hinge movement. So there are some things that I think are important to learn how to do. And first off, I like teaching how to hip hinge for my in-person clients with just having them learn how to do it with their body weight. So if you're looking at essentially how to hip hinge, the most fundamental thing is that we want to only see our hips traveling backward. We want to keep a vertical shin angle and then not have our knees travel forward. So what that looks like is we're kind of trying to push our hips back to the sky behind us while keeping our knees without going forward, but as vertical shin angle, and we should feel a really deep stretch in our hamstrings. You should feel like you're loading your hips and hamstrings pretty hard. One cue that I like for this is kind of putting your belly button down towards your knees slash your obliques to your thighs. In regards to learning how to what that kind of feels like. Another one that kind of helps is think by pushing your butt back to the sky behind you. And then you want to go down as far as your mobility permits when you're doing this. So I'll get an angle of me like my shins. You can see how my shins are not traveling forward. They're staying vertical. I'm lowering my hips down, going as far down as I possibly can. Also try to arch your lower back a little bit. So that's what I like to teach first. So after you've practiced that with your body weight, you can then grab a pair of dumbbells or a barbell and try to learn how to do that on your own. I do recommend doing lots of RDLs and straight leg deadlifts before you even do learn how to do a conventional deadlift or a sumo deadlift. I do recommend learning the straight leg deadlift in a conventional stance. However, the same fundamental principles apply with a sumo stance. It's just that your feet are further out. So those are some cues I use fundamentally, how to do it. I'm going to show a video of myself and some of my clients, kind of what a proper execution of this looks like in practice when you are actually doing a conventional or a sumo deadlift. Okay, so in this part of the video, I wanted to just give some examples of my clients who are executing a hip hinge properly, as well as myself using both a sumo, a conventional, and a straight leg deadlift example. So this is my client Edwin. He is a sub-junior lifter from Sweden, 16 years old, super strong kid. And he's pulling sumo. This is something that we worked on really a lot when we first started working together. You can see how right there he sets his hips back, his shins are vertical. When he resets, you also see he does the same thing. And he's really loading the hips and putting lots of tension into his hamstrings, and everything, all the work is happening behind the bar. And as Edwin is wedging into the bar, you can see that when he is pushing down on the floor, he is, as he drives his hips down, he's pushing down really hard with his legs and then pulling through with his back at the same time, kind of like leg pressing the floor away from him. But this is absolutely fundamental for a good deadlift. You can see that, it's everything is, his shoulders are right over the bar, he's able to lock his knees out right when he needs to. So this is a really great deadlift. This is going to be my client Oscar, another sub-junior from Sweden, really strong as well. Oscar has a little bit of a different pulling style, a little higher hips than Edwin. But you can kind of see here how, although he does have a little bit more of a rounded back than Edwin does, that's totally fine. He's really pushing his hips back. Now on that first rep, it wasn't as good as it was towards the end of these reps, but you can really easily see the difference though, actually, between his first rep and his last few reps. You can see how right here, his hips are not as pushed far back. He's still hinging, but he's a little bit scooped, what we would call scooped with his hips, where essentially his pelvis is a little bit posteriorly tilted underneath him, and this is what lifters will do to basically try to get their hips closer to the bar. That's not necessarily what we want. We want to hip hinge, and then basically your femur length is going, and your torso length is going to basically determine like how far away from the bar that your hips are. So you can see there is a little bit not as fluid. Now he gets a little bit more close to it on these last few reps. But you can really see, again, right here, the distance between the ribs and the hips is a lot more maintained. And that's one really good cue that I like to use with my lifters is maintain the distance between your ribs and your hips. You do not want to have your ribs scoop underneath you, or have your pelvis or your hips be scooped. You want to maintain that distance between the ribs and the hips. And you can see as the set goes on, he does a much better job of that. And basically the RPE on these reps is arguably lower, towards the end. So that is Oscar. This is going to be my client, Tanner. This is him doing a straight leg deadlift. So something that we were working on is getting Tanner to really think of, like what I said, is to think of reaching your butt back on hips back, vertical shins, and keeping the barbell as close to his tibias as possible. The thing that I really like here, and want you guys all to notice, is that with this, the only thing moving on Tanner is going to be his hips forward and back. His tibia and his knees are all staying the exact same. He's controlling the eccentric, has a lot of extension in his upper back, soft touches. You are performing this exercise. I think a lot of lifters go too heavy on it. I think that this is the best way to basically get a good stimulus to fatigue ratio from the exercise, and really just understand, like basically slowing down the eccentric will help you feel out your positions a little bit better. So again, hips back, maintain the distance between ribs and his hips, butt back to the sky behind you. His tibias are vertical. The only thing moving forward and back is his hips. And then he's focusing on extension as well in his upper back. I do like teaching extension on straight leg deadlifts and RDLs. I think it loads the hamstrings better and teaches hip hinging better. Basically, you don't want to have your back rounded over. Have it nice and extended like this. Barbell as close to the shins as possible as well. Here is an example of me as well on sumo. You can see right here, I set my hips, and that provides a really good baseline for a deadlift. Basically, you're also trying to kind of anchor your hips behind the bar. That's something that is really important. They should ideally not rise, and this will kind of help you understand, you are hip hinging. Aries hip height is going to be a little bit differently, but you want to get to the point when you are hinging that your hips don't rise. Something that you can do to help teach you that is a 3-count eccentric on straight leg deadlifts, or when you're warming up on whatever lift that you are doing. You are going to want to make sure that you are doing some slow eccentrics to feel out your hip position. But you can see right here, as I'm pulling myself into the bar, I'm pulling up on the bar with my traps as I am driving my legs down into the floor and setting my hips. That's ideally how you want to do this on both as a conventional and a sumo deadlift. It helps pull out the slack, and also helps provide some proprioception for kind of understanding where your hips should be relative to the bar. So let me see if I can find. I know I have some conventional deadlift sets. I want to make sure I give some of you conventional guys some love. So here's one. So you can see right here, I'm hinging back. I'm focusing on a lot of extension in my upper back. My shins are staying relatively vertical. Now on a conventional deadlift, you're going to have some
forward knee extension, just because of the fact that you're going to be using your quads a little bit to get the barbell moving off the floor. But after the barbell gets moving, and it's basically all in your hips. And again, hips back, and just pushing through. So that's essentially what I wanted to go over with hip hinging. This is a really important thing to master and understand. And this is something that will 100% get your deadlift up more than really any other thing that you could focus on. So really focus on your hip hinges. One other thing, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but one other thing I do like to use is think about driving through the heels. That can also help people understand where their weight should be sort of on a hip hinge. When you are doing an actual deadlift, though, you're probably going to have some shifting from forward of the foot to more back as you get the bar moving. That will essentially allow for the basically you want to keep your shoulders over the bar, still get your quads involved off the floor, but then you want to think about having your weight on your heels so that you can actually push your hips through a little bit more. It also buys a little bit more of the muscular and nervous system demands to your posterior chain. So hopefully this was helpful. If you guys have any questions, please ask me down below. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and stay strong.